Welcome to I Rock Business with Confidence, the podcast where passion meets profit without the pressure of a big price tag. I'm your host, Corey Fonville Foster, transformational speaker, certified business coach, trainer, and the CEO behind the mic. In every episode, we dive deep into the heart of entrepreneurship, bringing you stories, strategies, and tips to monetize your passions while maintaining your budget. Whether you're a budding entrepreneur or looking to scale up, this is your go-to resource for affordable sales and marketing strategies. Join us as we interview small business experts from around the globe, sharing their journeys, challenges, and the solutions that propelled them to success. I Rock Business with Confidence podcast is here to demystify the process of running a successful business on a budget. Get ready to transform your entrepreneurial dreams into reality, one episode at a time. All right, we are back. Welcome to another episode of the I Rock Business with Confidence podcast. Today, we are honored to have a powerful guest with us, Rob, aka YB Youngblood, also known as the LinkedIn Locksmith. Rob is on a mission to impact 100,000 lives through his collaboration creates currency movement. As a two-time author, award-winning speaker, public relations consultant, and visionary business coach, Rob is passionate about helping small business owners, entrepreneurs, and professionals unlock the full potential of LinkedIn. He's here to share his journey, his successes, his failures, and all the lessons he's learned along the way. And this is all while giving you some actionable tips to help you enhance your clarity, your confidence, your communication, and your networking skills. You're ready to take some notes. This is going to be a game changer. Join me in welcoming YB. LinkedIn is such a powerful tool, especially when it comes to small business owners, and also comparable to the other platforms that we have at our disposal.
Yeah, just one word, and that's credibility. So when people look you up, so for example, if you meet someone at a networking event, or if somebody's name is mentioned to you, you're gonna Google them. You're gonna look them up. You want to see who they are. You don't want to deal with any mess. And LinkedIn allows for people to put their best foot forward by promoting the value that they bring to the marketplace. No shade to any other platform, but there's a lot of folks who show up on Facebook or Instagram. They don't even use their real name. So how can we expect to be credible if we don't even have our real name on a social media platform? So that's my opinion. But I think LinkedIn allows for people to build and establish a strong professional presence. There are people that say, well, LinkedIn is for professionals. That's why I'm not on there. And I say, well, if you're a professional, then you need to be on there. The challenge for most people is how they see themselves. And of course, not everyone is a solid networker. So networking to many people is intimidating. And if you're an introvert, you might say, well, I don't really do well as a networker because I'm an introvert. And I'm here to tell you that being an introvert has nothing to do with your success in networking. Networking is a skill, like riding a motorcycle or a double dutch. Right? You don't have to be an extrovert to know how to double dutch, but you do know how to move your feet and not get hit by the rope. Right? So that's a skill. And so LinkedIn is a great place to be because, number one, it helps you to enhance your credibility. It also increases your visibility. And as you put those two together, then you're on the path to creating profitability.
I love that. And I think that you're right. People have to shift how they see themselves and also realize that there are different audiences for you as a business owner. So for instance, like I work with coaches and consultants, then those are the people that I coach. However, I'm always looking for individuals to collaborate with, people to outsource to, speaking engagements, podcasts, those types of things. And I won't lie, I find a lot of those people on LinkedIn because, like you said, there I have credibility. They can kind of see my resume or CV, whatever you want to call it. They can see that my featured section, they can see I've been consistent on LinkedIn. And one thing I like about LinkedIn is if you actually post, you're a part of a very small percentage of people who actually share posts up there. I think back in the day it was like 1% of people on LinkedIn actually shared posts because, again, most people were there trying to get jobs or make business, business connections in the corporate world. Right. And so you really have a chance to kind of make a splash on LinkedIn quite easier than if you were, in the big the big Instagram or big Facebook world.
Yeah.
Now, I love that you talked about networking, right? Because when you talk about networking, I'm thinking about collaborating. And we already mentioned you're a two-time book author. And in one of your books, Collaboration Creates Currency, you kind of emphasize the importance of working together, working with someone else, collaborating. So can you elaborate more on how collaboration can, directly influence visibility, credibility, and of course, profitability of a small business owner?
Absolutely. So what we're doing right now is collaboration. So there are members of your network who may have never heard me before, even though I've been in business for myself since 2012. I've been a speaker since 2004. There's people that don't know who I am, but because of your platform and the credibility that you have, and the credibility that I have, because you don't just bring anybody on your platform, right? But because I'm here and our collaborative effort is developing, there are going to be people that now hear my voice and hear my message and gain some insight and wisdom. And so that's the foundation of collaboration, is building that trust with people. When people think of currency, the first thing they often think about is money. And while that's not wrong, money is low hanging fruit. Money is actually very easy to get. And when I say easy to get, I don't mean like stealing. I mean, like, if you have something that is valuable, somebody needs it, they pay for it, that's it. But the highest level of currency is trust, right? And oftentimes people start at 100, right? If I told you I'm going to be here at 3 or be there at 4, and I show up at 2:55, then that level of trust remains. But if I show up at 3:30, then you're looking at me crazy. Now you're like, okay, is he always going to be late? Can I put him in front of some other people? Is he going to embarrass me? So that level of trust is currency, right? Because it's valuable. It helps you to build other things. And so collaboration creates currency firmly means find ways to fulfill goals and fill gaps, right? So find gaps to fill and find goals to fulfill. Meaning, if you have a desire to increase your value in the marketplace, you have this platform, you bring on valuable people, your goals are being met, right? And so my thing is, how do I go and find more people that can benefit from my gift? And that gift can either help them fill a gap or fulfill a goal. And that's where the collaboration creates currency is all about.
Oh my gosh, you're dropping gems there, because I think people, like you said, they don't have that mindset shift. They are thinking just about the financial piece. But you're right, trust is a big part of business, whether it's people trying to do business with you and actually investing in your products or services, or people who are willing to do collaborations. It's not just about showing up. Like, people have to know that you're going to be able to give value, content, and that you're going to be able to do the things that you even say that you can do. And so I think you're spot on with that. I actually had a conversation with someone just today, and she was like, I wanted to talk to you and see how I could do business with you, because I've seen you show up consistently. She was like, I seen you. She was like, I didn't know how we were going to, collaborate or do whatever, but I've been watching you, she said, for 2 years. And she said, I've been showing up consistently. So she trusts that I will be able to deliver whatever it is I say that I can do. And that's the battle. Well, not in the battle, that's the reward of showing up for yourself, showing up for your clients, showing up for your business. And I think so many people are only thinking kind of short term. They're like, all right, I'm gonna do this one thing and I'm gonna show up today. But it's like, no, you have to build that credibility. And LinkedIn, like you said earlier, is a really great platform for that. So let's dive more into LinkedIn, because that's what you're here for, right? We got the LinkedIn locksmith in the house. So we gonna ask him all the questions. So LinkedIn, there's so many ways to optimize it. Let's get real. We don't have enough time to dive into it. That's why we're going to give your notes, your links in the show notes. People are going to be able to reach out to you to get some more personalized instruction. But give us like 3 things that we can do right now to kind of level up our LinkedIn to attract either leads or to attract or build that trust with possible people we could collaborate with.
So before we even get into LinkedIn, I always start out with the 3M framework. Okay. Right? The 3M framework focuses on mindset, methodology, and mentorship. And when you have the 3M framework, it helps individuals to be able to develop the mindset, first and foremost, to see LinkedIn not only as a revenue generation tool, but as a public relations tool. Public relations for business is critical because it elevates your visibility, it gets you out there, gets you known, but it also elevates your credibility. So before we even get into optimizing our profile, we have to start looking at LinkedIn as a public relations and a revenue generation tool. So once we have that, then the three things that I would always recommend people to focus on is number one, make sure that anyone you want to connect with, that you send them a personalized note with every invitation that you send. There are people who just click the connect button, they click the follow button. It's like on Facebook. When we first got on Facebook, folks would just follow, 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 follow. We follow everybody. Instagram, we connecting with everybody. We, following everybody. LinkedIn, you don't really want to get to that place because you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And when it comes to LinkedIn and having that mindset of recognizing that you're in a professional space, you want to send a personalized note to let the person know or answer the question that they're thinking, which is what? Who is this person? And why are they sending me an invitation to connect? All right. So if you make it easy for people to understand that, then your ability to attract or get them to accept you goes high because you're being genuine about your outreach through a personalized note. I equate it to me going to your house. Let's say I traveled and I came to your house unexpected. I knocked on your door. What's the first thing you're going to say out of your mouth when you hear me knock on the door? What's the first thing?
Like, who is this?
Yeah, who is this? Who is this, right? That's what people think when you send them an invitation to connect on LinkedIn. Now, there are people who say it's not that deep. It is that deep, especially if you want to do business with someone. Okay. So you always want to send a personalized note with every invitation that you send out. So that's number one. Number two, make sure that your profile promotes the value that you bring to the marketplace. I go on people's profiles and they'll put title at company, like CEO at XYZ LLC. And while that's okay, it doesn't display the value that you bring to the marketplace. Just because you're the CEO of a company doesn't mean I know the value you bring to the organization. So, do you have a value statement first and foremost? And is that value statement showing up in your headline? So that automatically, if somebody looks at your profile, they can see the value you bring and who you bring value to. Okay, that's number two. And then number three is making sure that whatever content you're putting out there, that the content is relevant, but it also speaks to your expertise. Wherever you are in your business, if you are a consultant, if you're a coach, if you're a speaker, if you are a content creator, whatever it is that you're doing, the content should be speaking to the target that you want to attract. Then as you start to show up in that fashion, you get seen as a thought leader. Right? That's another level of value that you're bringing because you're educating the marketplace. So those would be the three things that I would recommend anybody that's just getting started on LinkedIn. Number one, make sure that if you're going to connect with anybody on the platform, that you always send a personalized note. At least say the reason why I'm reaching out is, and then tell them why. And be honest with them. I mean, if you want them to be a client of yours, tell them, but tell them in a way that it doesn't come across as just one way. All right. It's not just about what you can get, but what can you give and how can you add value? And the only way you can find that out is if you actually look at their profile. Don't just send blind invitations just because you want to get your numbers up to 500, 1,000, 5,000, 25,000. None of that. Let me tell you something. I have been on LinkedIn since 2007. Okay. When I look at people's numbers of followers, it does not impress me. I don't care if you got 100,000 followers. What I would be impressed by is, do you have 100,000 relationships that at any moment in time, if you reach out or you call, they're like, oh yeah, Corey, go, come on. Yeah, I'll be happy to take your call. Why? Because you have a relationship. So make sure you're sending a personalized note. That's how you get started. Make sure you're putting your value statement on your headline, and then make sure that whatever content you're putting out, it's speaking to the specific target that you want to attract or that you're already working with.
Oh my God, I know people are listening and they are triggered. They're like, oh, I've been just sending connection requests. People don't understand. I would say stop worrying about the likes, the follows, the connect, and worry about the connections and the conversions. Mm-hmm. So many people are hyped when they get, somebody liked something or somebody followed or what have you. But is that doing anything for you? Is this going to be a new referral, an affiliate, a collaborator? If it isn't, then it doesn't matter. People are so hyped with the numbers. And I think it's just this idea of the numbers being like, ooh, 10,000, these big numbers, but it doesn't mean anything. You're so right. And I think too, when you start realizing that the people who you're trying to do these collaborations with and build these relationships with, they peep that game. Because guys, people be buying leads and all the kind of stuff. There's tricks on the back end. People know that that's the way the game is played. And so they really do want to know, who have you worked with before? Are you up here consistently? Mm-hmm. What value do you bring? People ask me all the time, like, how do you get on podcasts? I tell people the value that I can bring to their audience, right? I don't go up here begging and pleading. I don't pay for it. I just say, hey, I think I can contribute in this way. Again, building relationship, being conversational. And they're like, yeah, come on, let's talk about it. Let's see what we can do. So I love that you kind of lean on the relationship. Now, I will say, I was like, dang, I need to go back and look at my LinkedIn to see what my little thing says, because I think right now it's like CEO, speaker, all this stuff. So I'm going to go and do the work myself. By the time this airs, if y'all check my LinkedIn, it's going to be better, I promise. Because again, when the LinkedIn locksmith says to do something, we need to go ahead and take care of it. But I love that you gave those amazing tips. Now, on the reverse side of that, some of us have been making some common mistakes. I know, like I said, the little title thing, I'm probably at fault for that. But what are like some serious no-nos on LinkedIn, especially when it comes to small business owners?
Yeah, absolutely. So the biggest no-no is jumping into somebody's inbox and just automatically pitching your product or service. Now I know that there are folks who, they have their team and things of that nature. But what I would say is that it should not be the very first message that you send. So I'll give an example. Today, I looked on LinkedIn, a gentleman sent me a message, and the first thing he says is, our company does this. No, I mean, he says hello, but it's like, okay, hello, Rob, our company does this. And in my mind, and I guess this is the New Yorker in me, right? I'm like, I don't care. I don't care what your company does. I don't even know you. Why are you coming in my inbox telling me what your company does? You didn't even say, hey, Rob, I noticed your profile. I like what you're doing on LinkedIn. Are you looking for a way to do X? At least if you do that, you're asking a question. But if you start off by just attempting to tell me about something, now here's what it was really crazy. It was somebody who says that they optimize people LinkedIn. So I'm looking at the screen like they're crazy. And I responded to the guy. Typically, I don't respond, but I responded to the guy. And I said, well, my company has been around since 2012, and we have helped our clients generate over $166 million in business through leveraging LinkedIn. And I sent that back to him, right? Why? Because in my mind, you're not interested in building a relationship with me. You want to get on there so you can sell me your product or service. Now, some people might say, well, what's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. But could you imagine you show up to somebody's house and you kick in the door waving the 4-4? That's not going to make a positive impression on them. Matter of fact, they're going to probably, anyway, we're not going to get into that. All I'm saying is this. Make sure you focus on relationship first, business second, right? Hi, how you doing? My name is Joe. I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. I really am impressed by the work you're doing to help entrepreneurs. I'd like to establish a professional relationship. Would it be okay if we schedule some time to talk so we can get to know each other, see where we can help each other out? Like a message like that goes very far. And I laugh on the inside, Corey, because when I was a teenager, now growing up in New York, I remember I always wanted to talk to girls, but I was shy. Mm-hmm. Right. And so in my mind, I would run in my head the scenario and what I would say if I said hi, and then she say hi, and then what would I say? I literally would have to run it in my mind. Because for me, I'm like, I can't just say hi to her. That's weak. But when I started saying hi, they started saying hi back. I'm like, well, that works. I'm like, that's pretty sweet. So some people might take my message of, hi, my name is Rob. I'm the Chief Connecting Officer of YB Connects. I noticed your profile and that you went to an HBCU like I did. I'd love to learn more about your experience. Are you open to connecting to have a conversation? They're going to say yes or no. And I think a challenge for most people is they don't want to get the no. So they just throw themselves out there to start telling their what they do. But I'm going to tell you what, get the no. As a matter of fact, there's a book out there I would highly recommend every person that's listening and watching to read. It's called Go for No, right? Put yourself in a position to get a no. But if you start with the relationship, I would say 60% of people are open to having a conversation to build a relationship. But just don't put the cart before the horse. So that's number one mistake. Number two mistake is not having a optimized LinkedIn profile. All right. You've got your name, you've got, where you went to school, but you don't have nothing else. You may have your experience, but you don't have no information about the impact or results you brought through that experience. You don't have any recommendations. You're not posting any content, right? So make sure your profile is optimized. And then the third mistake that people make is not posting enough. Now some people are like, well, how much do I need to post? I tell my clients at least once a day, minimum. And their eyes bug out. They're like, what? That's a lot. I need to be on there. No, there's some tricks and tips that I teach my clients that if you do them, you don't have to be on LinkedIn all day. But you want to look like you on there all day. Why? Because out of sight, out of mind. Right now, we got this interview going on. There are TV stations all over the country. Right now, there's a TV station that's showing something that we're not currently watching. Why? Because we're doing this podcast interview. All right. It could be the greatest information that they're showing. But then if they do a replay, I can go back and watch it. Right. And that's what social media on any platform, but specifically LinkedIn, out of sight, out of mind. And you don't want to be out of sight or out of mind because it's the people who see you that then are able to do business with you. So those would be three mistakes that I think people should overcome.
Oh my gosh, that was a lot right there. Look, I was like, let me take a couple of notes. Y'all might have heard me type, and I said, hold on, let me get that down. He gave you a pretty nice script to get started with. I always tell people, customize your scripts, figure out what works best for you. But he gave you a blueprint, and you ain't even have to pay for it. So I hope you caught that. If you didn't, look, luckily you can watch the replay of this. Go ahead and rewind it back and take the notes so that you can start making those connections on LinkedIn. And it's not rocket science, guys. Just like you said, the way that you would talk to someone in real life and get to know them and build relationship is the same way you would do it on LinkedIn. And yes, you're going to have to kind of find your way a bit, but you don't have to do it alone. Okay. You don't have to do it alone. I think people are so afraid to invest because it's not purchasing, it's not buying, it's not throwing cash at, but investing in support to let you be able to move faster, to give you the instructions so you don't have to do so much trial and error. And that's why it's important to get people like the LinkedIn locksmith on your team to say, okay, I get my LinkedIn isn't doing great. I'm sending connection requests and nobody's accepting it. I'm trying to reach out and do some organic marketing and DM people and nobody's, talking to me at all. Having somebody like the LinkedIn locksmith to give you some strategy, to give you the blueprint, the templates, the understanding of how to level up your LinkedIn is going to be of such benefit to you, and not just for the short term, but for the long term. Because once you learn it, you won't unlearn it. So when people work with you, because you work with thousands of people at this point, right? You've been in the game for a long time. You're not new to this. You're true to this. What is that experience like? Can you tell us maybe a success story or what your process is like when you work with your clients?
Yeah, I'll give you three success stories. So the first one would be maybe my biggest success story. So, and as was mentioned, I'm an award-winning speaker. So I speak in a lot of different places, primarily chambers of commerce. And last February, I had an opportunity to speak to the Chesterfield Chamber of Commerce, which is located here in Central Virginia. And I picked up my biggest client after that talk. That was a pro bono talk. It was a business development talk, which means that I didn't get paid. I didn't get any cash to speak, right? But it was a strategic talk. And as a result, I met a gentleman who was just getting started with a specific campaign. His goal was to reach small businesses that had employees that they paid during the pandemic, but they were affected by the pandemic, and they were able to qualify for a tax credit, right? And so, but he was already successful in what he did, but he needed a way to amplify his message and get in front of more people. And so he ended up buying a copy of my book, Collaboration Creates Currency. He then took advantage of my LinkedIn profile makeover or LinkedIn profile optimization a session. And then he took advantage of my 90-day LinkedIn coaching. This guy took that, went hard and heavy on LinkedIn for several months, and he was able to attract 600 clients and help those clients to generate over $160 million in tax credit, which was tremendous. Why? Because he took the knowledge and insight that I gave him, and he went to town, and he's one of my top clients. So I'm always bragging on this gentleman. As a matter of fact, when I reach out to members of my network and I ask them if they know business owners who could benefit from unlocking the power of LinkedIn, I often share him as an example because we did a testimonial video. So I always use that. That's one example. A second example was I have a young man who I met during a speaking engagement that I conducted at Virginia State University. And I have a client who sponsored copies of my book for all of the students. And so each student got a copy of my book. And this gentleman reached out to me directly to let me know that he went back to his hometown and he's now teaching in middle school. And he said he encountered a young man in his class who didn't want to read. He gave him a copy of my book. Not only did the young man like the book, he took the book home, finished the book, and came back and said, "Do you have any other books just like this one that I can read?" And that tore me up. I mean, I literally started crying when I read that. Middle school gentleman. So while my focus for the book was entrepreneurs, I realized from that message that was sent to me through LinkedIn that I need to be focusing on middle and high school with regards to the Collaboration Creates Currency movement. And then the third example was the fact that when I was just really getting started with working with, revenue generators, one of my biggest clients is the #1 motivational speaker in the world, Dr. Eric Thomas. And I had a chance to manage his LinkedIn profile for several years. And that actually gave me the confidence to create a specific service to manage other people's LinkedIn profiles. I've since closed that down because it takes a lot of work. But also, I did not want to hire external people to manage other people's profiles because if it went south, somebody did something they weren't supposed to do, my name and my company was attached to it. So I'd rather put people in the driver's seat and I'd be in the passenger seat and show people how to manage their profile or work with their internal social media team. But I no longer decided to manage that process. But that experience and working with the #1 motivational speaker in the world gave me the confidence and the credibility to be able to go out and impact other speakers who were looking for ways to leverage LinkedIn to increase their visibility, credibility, and profitability.
Oh my gosh, I love those success stories, and I like that they're broad. They're not just, oh, I work with a couple of clients. It's like, no, you have touched people's lives in so many different ways. And I know people who are listening or watching are like, I need to get with him, right? I get it. Y'all like, all right, Corey, get to it. I'm going to ask him how y'all can get in touch. But before I do, I want to let you guys know that he has given us a gift, y'all. So if you're listening or you're watching, go ahead, run. Do not walk to the show notes because he is giving us some complimentary LinkedIn strategy sessions. So you'll be able to use the link. Book it now because, people get booked and busy. Book it now and make sure that, one, you have a LinkedIn so he can be able to look at it, but also make sure that you are ready to take action, right? You see, in this little bit of time, we've been talking for only 30 minutes. He has given us major strategy that we can go ahead and implement today. Show them that you're ready to do the work. Come in there with at least some work done, but go ahead and enjoy a complimentary LinkedIn strategy session with the LinkedIn locksmith, okay? So before we go, definitely give us your final thoughts, but also let the people know how they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. Final thoughts is that while most people, or you may be intimidated by LinkedIn, intimidation comes from a lack of time. All right. And so the first entity or anything, the first thing you need to get confident about is you. All right. That's why the whole collaboration creates currency movement starts with clarity. And when you have clarity and you understand that you are a gift and that what you have on the inside is your gift, that it comes easy to you, but it may be difficult for others, and that your gift can solve somebody else's problem. Once you have that clarity, you'll gain confidence. That confidence will produce action. And then that action will lead you to your ability to communicate the value that you bring to the marketplace, whether online or offline. And then that ability to communicate will attract connections that leads to collaboration opportunities and then currency. So understand that start with clarity. Begin with understanding who you are, what you do, why you do what you do, who you do it for, the result you get for those people. Right? Understand what are your goals and your gaps. And the last thing you really understand is what's the one thing that you sell? Because if you were to stop me or wake me up out of my sleep and say, YB, what's the one thing you sell? I would tell you credibility. If I can help you generate credibility, everything else will fall into place, because people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. And trust is currency. And so go out and get you some currency, collaborate with some people to increase your credibility, and understand that your gift will continue to make room for you. You can find me on LinkedIn, Rob YB Youngblood, or you can visit my website, ybconnects.com. That's letter Y, letter B, letter C, ybconnects.com, and I'll be happy to engage you. You can also book a discovery call to have a conversation, but just please let me know that you heard about me here on this podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. You gave a wealth of knowledge. I always appreciate that, because I know my listeners are ready, right? Y'all ain't gonna let me down. Y'all are ready to take action. So definitely, again, check those show notes. All the links will be there to connect with YB, the LinkedIn locksmith. And y'all best believe I'm gonna try to get him to come back, right? If you're in the IROC world, you're in the IROC community, I'm always trying to bring our experts back, because they just have so much more information and value to give. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to like, share, follow, subscribe, do all the things. And remember, we drop a new episode every single week. But until then, guys, remember, I rock, you rock, we all rock, and we'll talk to you next time.
And that's a wrap on another episode of I Rock Business with Confidence podcast. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining our journey into the world of entrepreneurship. If today's episode inspired you or just gave you the tools to tackle your next business challenge, we'd love your support. Please like, share, follow, subscribe, and rate us with a glowing 5 stars. And don't forget to leave us a review. Are you an entrepreneur with a unique perspective, expertise, or actionable strategies that our audience can implement today to advance their entrepreneurial journey? We're always on the lookout for guests who are ready to share their stories and insights. If that's you, please reach out to us. Remember, entrepreneurship isn't just about the destination, it's about the journey. And here at I Rock Business with Confidence, we're here to journey with you. Until next time, keep rocking your business with confidence. We can't wait to see where your entrepreneurship journey